PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. Welcome to PLD Projects. Welcome to our little slice of home in a galaxy far, far away. I am your host, PLD, for this Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast. And with me, as always, is this guy, Matty Gunner. How are you doing, my friend?
This guy.
This
fucking guy.
I'm
doing good, mate. How you doing?
Not too bad. It's been an interesting week. A lot of news has come out, a lot of Star Wars stuff coming, and even more to come. Obviously, the title of this episode is about Ahsoka and the Empire because, you know, Ahsoka being reinsurgent to Empire Strikes Back. So George Lucas. No, okay. Ahsoka in Empire magazine. That is what we're talking about this week. They dropped a lot of news bits, a lot of sources. I got excited about this. I get excited when this stuff happens. It started the ramping up of the hype. I'm all on board the hype train. How about you?
So I'm not going to name names, but there is someone in a certain Discord channel and I know they listen to our show. It's a friend of mine, but I'm not going to put them on blast.
Okay.
As I said, listens to this show, so they know who they are when I mention them. They said, I think it's kind of ironic that they put Ahsoka interview in Empire when she's going to be in Heir to the Empire. And I was just like, what? Where did you conjure that from?
Empire, it's ironic indeed. Ironic that Empire, Heir to the Empire Strikes Back, Ahsoka and Empire, it's all good. I love this hype train. It kind of reminds me of the Vanity Fair days back in like when the prequels were coming out. I used to have those like picturesque big shots and big gorgeous pictures and stories. They always make me excited about what's coming up next, and this is definitely a time to talk about it because we actually got, even today before I logged on, I kind of rolled over. After I rolled over in bed, woke up and had an indication from somebody, oh my god, we have a new trailer, kind of trailer-esque teaser, 30-second spot. But most importantly, it's the date. The date is here. I'm sorry, my friend, it's not your birthday.
Filoni, what the f- is your problem? Like, first he goes and kills a character I love. Now he's putting Ahsoka on a date that's not my birthday.
You can't put text death on him. He doesn't run Bad Batch anymore. That's
I'm not going to put it on Jennifer Corbett because I like Jennifer Corbett.
Wow. Oh, so what do you don't like Dave Filoni? You're blaming Dave Filoni for that. But, okay.
Listen, George took his flack for the prequels. Now it's Filoni's turn. You want to be the next George Lucas? You got to learn when to take the flack from the fans.
Oh, he's taking some flack here and there from some people. That's for sure, here and there. Overall, though, we still generally stand Dave Filoni here. Besides,
we Steve him. We Steve him.
Well, yes, unfortunately, not August 9th for Matty, but August 23rd. The interesting thing for me, the fun thing for me, is I get to pencil on our production calendar date. Okay, those 8 weeks should be covered as far as topics go. But I'm very excited. to see. Got a couple of, it was mostly footage from the trailer, and it wasn't a whole lot of new footage. A couple of nice shots there of Sabine going one-on-one with Shin and lightsabers. Let me actually ask you that off the top of my head. I don't know about you, and this is like an old man thing. I find sometimes in Star Wars, as we grow older, some of us get set in our ways. It kind of leads to some of these older fans going, that can't happen in Star Wars. That's not my Star Wars. Having a non-Jedi, non-Force user fighting a Force user with a lightsaber always throws me off a little bit because we always raised to be you had to basically be a Jedi to use a lightsaber. Yes, I know. Even back in Empire Strikes Back,
that's a Han Solo. Exactly.
There's a difference between like using it as a knife to gut open a tauntaun and actually fighting with a Force user. It takes me aback initially, but I always tend to okay, let's think about it. Let's go through it, and I get to a place where I accept it. But it always does have that initial kind of like, whoa. feeling in me that I have to combat. What about you? Does that bother you at all?
No, because she's from a warrior race.
Hmm.
Like you think like all of you nerds that are like, oh, she shouldn't hold a lightsaber. She's from a warrior race. You think she doesn't know how to swing a sword around?
The difference being the instincts of the Jedi, or the Force user kind of thing, having the Force with them. That's the thing that always tweaked in my head, that you're supposed to,
Mm,
because they have the instinct, they see things before they happen, kind of thing. So it's harder
yeah.
for a non-human or non-Force user to be able to keep up. I got to the point where it's okay, because especially I think the Mandalorian culture specifically, and what we've seen in Clone Wars, obviously, uh,
Mm.
needs to acceptance of that. But it's still every once in a while it doesn't like bother me completely, but I always kind of like, oh, that's an interesting take.
How do we know that she's not a jet? She's not a force sensitive. There's been force sensitive Mandalorians before.
I guess that's true. I would think we would have seen it in Rebels, but the 4 seasons of Rebels, I think at some point we get some kind of indication, wouldn't we?
That I could argue there's little hints.
Okay.
The training with Kanan and the
Okay.
there's little like seeds that could have been. Again, I am like Mr. Fantastic levels of reaching, but I'm just saying.
Fair. Okay, I'll give you that.
I could make the argument if you backed me into a corner.
Gotcha. Okay, that's fair. And let me just be crystal clear. I'm never one who's gonna like be. I don't get like really upset about these things. These don't bother me to the end. Like, it's not gonna ruin the show for me right off the bat. I just one of those things. It's kind of like, oh, it's interesting. Let me think on that. But I'm actually excited for the fight, though. I got to tell you, I mean, thinking about that lightsaber battle actually already got me excited. I'm hoping that's early on in the show. I want to see it now. And who knows? I mean, the thing is, I can't. One of the things I always preach: you can't assume things. Hell, we could have Shin beat her pretty quickly because she's a Force user. You know what I mean? Like, she puts up the fight of the lightsaber, doesn't mean she hang stuff. You don't know. But interesting way. I'm definitely interested to see what happens. But some other good moments in there. Like I said, not a whole lot new. A few shots here and there I was excited about, though. But either way, it did its job. I don't need any more footage at this point. I'm okay with like dropping. Like, I got enough. Let's go on.
I don't want to know anything else. I don't need anything else. No more videos. Don't tell. I've already had like someone like almost ruin because apparently Balin's backstory came out, and
A little bit.
Someone like tried to tell me, and I was like, "Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!"
Well, I guess we're not talking about one of the news shits that dropped today, then, are we?
If it's Balin's backstory, I don't want to hear it. I will mute. And you can,
okay.
you can.
I will. I will tell you to mute that. I will tell you to mute it. It's not a whole lot of backstory. There's just a little bit of drop.
I don't want nada, nothing, zilch, nothing.
All right, fair enough. But let's get into our news. We do have a kind of a cool discussion later on in the episode today. We're talking about. I pitched this to Matty last week, and he quickly said it was a good idea. I thought it'd be a lot of fun.
Because I have got great ideas for this one, so this was a great pitch.
I actually did have a lot of fun with it as well. I got more fun even than I thought about it. I pitched. Let's look forward to the future of Star Wars. We have our open slate. We want to pitch 5 directors each that we want to see do a Star Wars film, and then maybe a little bit into what that Star Wars film could be. I have one pretty detailed one and a couple that are.
Oh God, I didn't even think about that. Jesus. Okay.
Very good. Well, that's what Matty feeling in the role of Richard Artillery in Class Action. But let's find out. We're going to find out.
Okay.
But you have a little bit of time because we're going to talk about some news first. And there was a lot of news because, as the title of the episode indicates, Ahsoka and the Empire. Empire Magazine has their articles coming out. And there's a lot of pieces being drip-drabbed across the way. And that's not the only place that has news as well. So we have a lot of news to at least touch on, if nothing else. Of course, I curate all my news from Star Wars and News.net because they always do a good job of curating from the definitive to the not so definitive, the rumor from the fact. And it's great to have it all in one place. So, first one, bit of news I want to touch base on, the quick one. Taika Waititi actually talked about Star Wars for a little bit in an interview, discussing something else. He mentioned his idea for the film. Obviously, we know the process at this point was that he was originally writing this film with his partner. The partner left. He was alone with it. Kathy Kennedy says it's still on board, but we didn't know where it was. And this is what his quote said. I've got a really good idea for it. It's just as with all films, it's this middle part. You're like, what's going to happen? And then you look at all these films that are so great, and you're like, well, I guess they can't meet some smuggler with an alien sidekick. Basically, it sounded like he has a beginning, he has the ending. It's just that stuff in between he's got to make work. And he admits he's struggling with it, and that's okay to be struggling with it. I'd rather have him struggle with it and wait and do it right than just kind of finish it just to get it done. Where are you on this on Taika Waititi directing Star Wars? And it's kind of been up and down within the fandom. Matters Thor: Love and Thunder has been a little more down than up. But where are you at with this?
I'm just at. I have this exercise that I like to do every day. That I have like a whiteboard like over by my door that has a giant circle written on it. And shout out to my mental coach for this. He said, draw a giant circle. Everything inside it, you write what you can control and only ever focus on that. Everything outside of your control, write it outside the circle and never think about it. After this podcast, I'm going to go and write Taika Waititi Star Wars movie outside the circle.
That's fair. That's fair.
When it happens, it happens. Maybe he can get, what was it, the manatees from South Park to help him write the middle?
That's right. That's right. That could do. I get what you're saying. Like, I know some people get frustrated about the will they, won't they, what's going on. I'm always interested to see. I'm on board with Taika Waititi film still. I think he's got a unique voice. And I actually enjoyed Thor: Love and Thunder more than most. I get that it's a mess. I understand the criticisms and everything else. I do think he's a creative talent. So give me talent more than not. And everybody has some off times, and I'm interested in seeing it still. So
he's my favorite working director today. I'm just like, shit, or get off the pot.
Well, we got a little bit of time, of course, the writer's strike going on and everything else. So,
and now there's the actor's strike coming with it.
Yeah, that's true. The directors seem to have agreed to the deal, which I don't know. It's kind of funny. I don't want to get into this too much because that's way beyond our. Some people are not happy that the directors did. I guess they wanted the directors to be in step with everybody else, but I mean. I don't know what it's good or bad or not, but I'm just going to take it day by day, and hopefully everybody gets what they're supposed to get. Because obviously, with the studio versus creators, we need the creators. Studios have been getting a lot of money; they need to give to the creators. Otherwise, we don't have this good shit. All right, next bit of news: we had an actress Yvonne Sakno on Shin Hati. Interesting quote she had on her character. A couple of them. She had a couple of the quotes in this piece, but I'm going to just concentrate on the one. I hope that despite her darkness of a character, we're also able to expand our understanding of that darkness within someone and the reason behind it. I love her. I really care so much about her, and I feel like it's my job to take care of her and protect her. That's not something you usually hear about a villainous character that she's being kind of depicted during the trailers and what we know about her. I'm kind of thinking this is a character that might be a little more layered and might have the potential to be more than just your typical stock villain. Maybe someone who has the chance of redemption.
Here we go again.
It's Star Wars Redemption.
Mary, she's a Mary Sue. Why is she so powerful? She's in more of the show than Ahsoka is. I can already predict the cycle that's gonna happen.
Could be. I don't know. I didn't even think about that angle, to be honest with you. But
because that sounds like Reva, like a multi-layered villain with a great backstory, an intriguing backstory, one that you can understand and relate to. And then they're just going to be like, oh, why does she have to be redeemed? Why can't she just be bad? Because that's not how this shtick goes, guys.
It's true.
How long do we have to like beat it into your heads that like people
there are very few evil characters that don't have any sort of sense of good on them. You got Emperor Palpatine is the one. A little bit of Snoke because he's part Palpatine. Jabba the Hutt, maybe. But you're right. You're not wrong. I hope people are able to accept it. I mean, it depends on how it's depicted. We'll have to see. I like the idea. I love the idea of having someone who's, but otherwise you fall the risk of being the kind of cardboard cutout. Okay, this is just a bad guy with his lightsaber. that she's going to wear black, and I like the idea of having someone a little more intense and something to that effect.
She seems to me like someone who's kind of like, I know nothing about her backstory or anything. She seems to me like someone that just kind of got led astray.
Yeah, that's what
I get that. I get that kind of vibe from her, that she's like just following Balin, who I'm guessing is like her mentor, her teacher, master, whatever.
Feels like that to me as well. Yeah.
There's like maybe like a father-daughter kind of relationship, and she's just like been led astray.
Absolutely could be. We're gonna. Well, it's not too long to wait. We'll find out some more soon. Off the back onto Mandalorian for a moment for the next piece of news. This is a kind of a fun piece of news. Axe Woves himself was interviewed. I don't have the actor's name. I wrote the whole quote up and forgot to write the actor's name. But you know, the guy who played Axe Woves. Let me find his name really quickly so I can be professional here, because we are a very professional podcast. So let me see what the guy. I forget his name. He's a very big Star Wars fan. He deserves his credit. Simon Kassianides. Okay, so he was talking about Axe Woves and talked about a time where George Lucas was visiting the set. And he said, in the quote was, "My very first time, John and Dave, and being fitted for season 2, John and Dave looked at each other and asked if I knew how the character got his name. I just said, it's a pretty cool name. They said the day George Lucas visited the set, he was sitting there and just suggested that there should be a character called Axe quite randomly. From that moment onwards, I thought, I better get my textbook out. I mean, humbling, right? I mean, you're involved in something like that, and you realize the guy conjured up this really cool name. You know, that just adds to it all." So they did that. How George Lucas is that? I got a character named Axe.
We're gonna call him Axe. Yeah. We're gonna call him Axe. There's gonna be a guy called Axe. I thought it would just be like he uses Axe body spray or something. And he just woke up one day, he was in the shower and was just spraying himself down. He was like, Axe.
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 What a great name. I love the fact that George still does this. That's the innocent George Lucas is still in there. He just kind of goes to set and just like throws things out there. Of course, they're like, that sounds like a good idea. Let's throw it out there. Let's use it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. The other bit of piece from that, he did mention that fan theories are, of course, that Ragnar would become Axe's foundling at the end of Mandalorian, obviously. Because
that'd be sick.
We did get to see the way he was shot towards the end. It was Ragnar was right by Axe. And of course, the great thing is Simon actually mentioned this. He said, of course, I heard this is the fan theories, but you know what? I know they're meticulous, so the positioning and the choice to say that line, have that in a frame, probably isn't by accident, but I know nothing. So, fair enough. All right. Next bit of news, we'll talk about Tony Gilroy talking a little bit more about Andor Season 2. He mentioned that the expectations and the responsibilities that we have for the characters we've set up, the responsibility to bring it home efficiently and pay off and emotionally stick the landing. The interesting bit we get, the two bits we get is this. The Rebel Alliance that emerges on Yavin is almost like the Christian Democrats. It's a consolidated, compromised group. It's a consolidated, compromised group. What happened to the original gangsters and the hardcore people who built that road? What happened to them, and how do they integrate with the Rebel Alliance? That'd be a lot of what we're doing. It's a really interesting writing responsibility. We're going to use negative space in a really interesting way with these gaps. There'll be 4 gaps. The gap before you start episode 1. Each block will have a year in between it. The trick is to make it worth it. We stay for a very short period of time. What's the most important 3, 4, 5 days a year later? And how do you do it without any of the awkward exposition? And as far as characters coming back from the films, yes. The answer is yes. There are some that are inevitable. There are some that are surprising. And there are some we probably can't get for various reasons. Okay, there's a lot of Tony just dropped there.
Okay, so that would be the one that they won't be able to get would be Hera.
Perhaps, but she didn't really appear in Rogue One. I mean, she had the name announcement, but I don't think that's something that would happen.
Probably, maybe not Chopper. I've heard Chopper's contract is kind of expensive.
Yeah, definitely got some green M&Ms on that rider.
I don't know. I just love that Tony Gilroy was basically calling the rebels soft. It was like, what happened?
It could be, yeah. It's a funny thing about that. As he does
refer to them as like the Christian Democrats. He's just like, you guys got soft.
I looked it up. It's interesting. I wonder if he meant, because there's actually a Christian democracy was a political ideology that was in 19th century Europe. I tried to read a little bit about that. It was kind of hard to. It was basically it had a lot of different issues that do line up a little bit with the rebellion. But they were moderately conservative, which is the interesting part about it. So I guess that's what it meant, if I'm reading it correctly. Like it's kind of like how Mon Mothma has been.
It's the difference between Mon Mothma and that POS
and
Saw Gerrera.
Or even Luthen, to be honest with you, to a
Or
degree.
Luthen.
To a degree. So yeah, that's what it has to do with. But it's interesting to see that. I guess that's what I'm actually happy to see, because that's what I'm hoping we'll get to see. Is because the different ideologies of different rebel groups has been part of the more interesting part of Andor for me. Seeing these little different groups that have to come together, as Luthen has told Saw. I just recently watched Andor season episode 8, I think it was, with my son. Like we were watching Andor now, and had a great moment between Luthen and Saw in his first introduction to each other, at least as far as we were concerned. I love that he talked about the fact that like Saw, like we have to work together, and Saw's like, no, we don't. I'm not going to work with this guy. I'm not going to work with this guy because he's a stupid oaf. I'm not going to work with Mon Mothma, of course, because we know how that goes. But Luthen's trying to get them to come together, which is an interesting tactic. But I like how that's going to go. But I do like to think the other part of that quote is, the hardcore people who built that road, what happened to them? Is where I still feel like we're not going to get Luthen to make it out of Andor season 2. That's my read on this.
No, he's going to bite the bullet. Bite the blaster bullet.
As far as who comes back in season 2, as far as the characters that come back, I think it's going to be Rogue One stuff we're talking about. Obviously, we already have Mon Mothma, we already have Melchi, we already have obviously K2SO is coming. We know that from every conversation that's ever been had about it. Who else is there? I mean, is this where we get Chirrut and Baze potentially making an appearance?
Oh yeah, that would be cool. I know. Kyle Soller has been filming, so
okay.
I know Cyril's in at least one arc.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't remember her name. Plays Dejamiro. I know she was filming because she was.
Well, they would be there together, I believe, because they had Deidre and Cyril's arc is together, so I think that would make sense as well. Absolutely.
I know the Scottish guy isn't.
Oh, yeah, I heard that. I remember hearing that too, unfortunately. I love that guy. I wish he would come back.
Talk about
Rogue One itself. Do we get, I think is the one I'm picking up, do we get Bail Organa finally back in Rogue One in territory? We're getting that far. Wolf. Do we get Bail Organa? Do we get
Krennic?
Krennic's a possibility as well.
Galen.
Galen there. So potentially Dodonna. We get a little bit of Dodonna in there, because especially considering kind of like trying to move the pieces into what Tony Gilroy is mentioning as far as the Rebel Alliances goes, as we get more of that Rebel Alliance side of things. We are supposed to be going to Yavin, so are we getting that crew in there as well?
He's having the same problem that Taika's having. He's done the beginning, he's done the end. Now he's just going to work out the middle.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. So. But either way, I'm excited. These quotes are definitely making me even more excited. So I can't wait to see what the end result is. I feel like
Gilroy, I trust.
In Gilroy, I trust as well. All right, next up, we do have some pieces of news drop. George Lucas, Dave Filoni, George Lucas's heir apparent, apparently the guy in the cowboy hat. Got to talk about Ahsoka a little bit as the bridge, and he had a great quote for me, from my point of view, saying, talking about Ahsoka itself is the biggest challenge was that there's a whole bunch of audience that know her and a whole bunch that don't. She has one foot in the Star Wars that a lot of people know because of her connection to Anakin, and yet she's all new and can go in her own direction, in her own way. I think that makes her an interesting bridge between what came before and what's really possible. And I like that fact because we, as the hardcore Star Wars fans, know Ahsoka very well. Obviously, she's a big character in our galaxy. But it's hard to step back and talk about Joe Schmo, the casual Star Wars fan, the guy who watches the movies. He's got Disney Plus. And, oh, yeah, I'll check out Mandalorian. Is that Boba Fett? No, it's not. No, I'll watch it and say, do they know who Ahsoka is? Probably not. Probably not as much. I mean, especially, that's the Jedi that appeared. That's that Jedi chick that appeared in Mandalorian, right? That guy. Okay. They don't know her backstory or anything like that. And yet, here we are, a character that was created 2008, and now she's being front and center. She's the front of this Empire magazine. She's the big piece of news. She's getting into that space the same way Luke, Han, Leia, Rey, we're getting out there to the more casual audience. And it's an interesting concept to me because we have a character with an already rich background story that people might not know. So I like what Dave was saying here. It makes a lot of sense to me. It's that kind of like best of both worlds. You can do a lot with her new to introduce her to the newcomers, so to speak. But we, as fans of her for a long time, we're the ones getting rewarded in what is like Rebels 2.0 or Rebels Season 5, so to speak. I like it. I think it's some interesting concepts. What do you think about Ahsoka as far as coming to, or the character coming into the mainstream, so to speak?
My thing with this, and it goes to the point of like and we had this with Mando and Grogu being reunited, and people maybe not seeing that because they didn't watch Book of Boba Fett. Those Joe Schmoes are going to have someone that they work with or someone that they go to the bar with that is a Star Wars fan. I am that fan for a lot of my friends, that they will watch the shows and we'll meet up somewhere and they'll be like, who's this guy? What's this guy's story? So most of these fans will more often than not have someone in their life who is more of a fan that they can be like, hey, you love Star Wars. What's the story about this guy? About this chick? What's
right.
what's the deal with them? And then like I'll just be like, oh, that was Anakin Skywalker's apprentice. She left the Jedi Order. She fought Darth Maul and then went on her own way and joined the rebellion. And then just be like, oh, cool.
Yeah, I am that guy too, obviously. So I definitely talking to some people already, and I'm trying to stir the hype up a little bit. It's interesting to see because obviously as we got introduced to her in the Clone Wars film at the beginning of Clone Wars, she wasn't very well liked even by the hardcore fans. It was very much a tough pill to swallow. It, but it's amazing how she's gotten to the point now where she is one of the probably the most favorite fan favorite characters out there. So I'm wondering. I don't think they're going to need to make. She's not going to have to make that same jump with the Joe Schmo. I think she'll be. I think she's going to be met with some pretty love. I think so. But hopefully we'll see. We'll find out. I know very soon, and hopefully it's not just me.
You didn't have to go through Snips and Sky Guy.
Maybe they will. But who knows? Okay, got a few more pieces of news I want to drop a little bit. The last part of the article was Dave Filoni was asked about George Lucas possibly liking Ahsoka, and his quote was funny to me. It's almost like when you turn a big paper in at school. It's like, here it is, and you're waiting to see how George is going to grade it. Still, after all this time, still wants to make George happy, and I like that. I kind of like the fact that he's such a George fanboy. Rightfully so. So,
wait, you're supposed to turn your papers in at school? I never did that, so I wouldn't know how that feels.
That'd explain a lot, man. It'd explain a lot. All right, a couple more bits and pieces here. An image dropped a couple days ago of an Inquisitor, a new image of an Inquisitor that appeared to be looking like he was on maybe on Mustafar, because it looked like the Rise of Skywalker Mustafar. That's what it looked like. The picture looked like, if you remember the scene Rise of Skywalker, when the very beginning when Kylo Ren's like giving the rock bottom to the bad guys there, and he's fighting through. It looked like that wooded area of Mustafar. That's what it looked like. I don't know if that's it. But people kind of like had interesting comments about it. I mean, definitely. Did you see the image?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so he's got the double twirly lightsaber thing that Inquisitors have, but it was kind of like a thing like, well, why are Inquisitors in the New Republic era? And first off, we don't know that. This could be a flashback, but we did see Ahsoka versus the Inquisitor in the trailer at one point. There's a lot going on about this Inquisitor, and I worry. I want to quote the great Ken Knapsack and Joseph Scrimshaw: speculate responsibly, because when you don't speculate responsibly, it can lead to disappointment. And I feel like this is where this is going, because so many people are like, well, who's under that mask? Who is that Inquisitor? This could seriously be Inquisitors 37A. I mean,
are you a betting man? You a betting man?
I'll bet. Yeah,
you want to make a bet right now on the podcast?
Oh, want to make a bet? Oh, okay.
$10 says it's the eighth brother.
The eighth brother. Interesting. Okay.
That's the eighth brother's mask. That's the eighth brother's costume. That's the eighth brother's lightsaber.
It is, and that could absolutely be who it is. I don't know if I want to take that.
And go back and look how he died in Rebels. Like he was on the helicopter. He was doing the helicopter blade. His lightsaber got cut in half, and then he just fell.
Felon doesn't do anything in Star Wars. Come on now.
We didn't see the body.
That's true.
All we just saw was. I
Well,
wouldn't
that
be
would make
surprised
sense to me.
if it's the eighth brother that like Thrawn's probably able to get a hold of some inquisitors that may still be around. I imagine he would want an inquisitor in, on his force.
Well, that does actually lead to a interesting conversation because we know the Inquisitors are around, obviously, between episode 3 and episode 4. We don't have any qualms about what happened afterwards. We don't. I mean, they didn't appear in the original trilogy per se, at least in the foreground. So what happened? Obviously, when the Empire falls, are they still around? I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't be. So to me, it doesn't make it's like not like some people think that doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense to me. They're still around. I don't know. But of course, they're always pitching these ideas. There's a lot of fans are throwing this shit out against the wall. Have you heard some of the rumors?
I've heard that it's Ezra, that it's Barris, that it's Shin, and I'm just like, guys, you 3 times bitten, like once shy. Like we've been hurt before that we thought, oh, this is gonna be someone. I'm like, whoa, 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 pump the brakes, pump the brakes. It's more than likely just the eighth brother, and they
No.
put him in the trailer because
Right.
people see him and go, "Ah, Inquisitor!" Like Joe Schmo will see him and go, "Oh, that's the guys
That's my
from
Inquisitor.
the Kenobi show.
Right.
That's the Inquisitors that we saw in the Kenobi show. He's one of them.
Interesting.
All right, he's chasing a Jedi. Okay, cool. I just think that they have put. I fully believe that Barriss Offee will appear in
Right.
some way, shape, or form. I think that is like this is the perfect time to do it. It's almost now or never. But I honest to the force, hand to Satan, believe that they just put that character in there. That is the eighth brother that has been recruited by Thrawn, wants to get revenge on Ahsoka for what happened on Malachor, and they just put him in there because it's like Joe Schmo knows what a inquisitor looks like, and it may sound like I'm dampening on things, but no, I'm just looking at it from like a business and a how do we draw people into this show? We
Right.
give them characters that they have seen before. They
Right.
know what inquisitors look like. They saw them in Kenobi.
Right. I don't think you're wrong, and that's actually what I was alluding to when it comes to speculating responsibly. I think that we
Mm.
have a. I am someone. I actually will say that I love speculating irresponsibly.
Oh
I
yeah, it's
just feel
great
like
fun.
you. I feel like you have to just as long as you don't let it like upset your
Mm.
when it happens, like because expectations get so high, you'll get disappointed when it's not the way. I am fully believing that this is a nobody. This is a no
Mm.
character at all. Eighth brother, I could see that. I was saying that to me, I don't think this is going to be anybody special. I really don't. Would it be cool if it's revealed to be Barris? Absolutely, I think that'd be cool. I don't see it being Ezra. That would take a
No.
whole lot of conversation for me to have about Ezra. I mean, I know that Ezra definitely went a little dark at times, and there was always that will he go dark side, but I can't see this happening.
No.
I could be wrong. Maybe this is the big reveal. Maybe everybody's got it right in the big reveal. At the end of the episode, they find Thrawn and Ezra is his main guy. That's what ends up being the thing. Ezra's the dark. He's like the new Darth Vader or something. I don't know. Maybe it's gonna happen. And Filoni could pull it off. I know he could, and I'd probably be really excited about it. But my expectations are that it's a nobody, and people get hyped for nothing. So don't get hyped for nothing. Have fun.
So
Realize that's probably gonna be.
I was talking with the Thank the Maker guys, and like I had them talk. I got them to discuss this on their stream last week of
Mhm.
my theory that Dryden Voss is a Mandalorian.
You've mentioned that to me before. Yeah.
I have a full bullet point thought out theory that Dryden Voss is a Mandalorian. He has Mandalorian armor on his ship. He's trained in hand-to-hand combat. The first light was built on Kalevala by the same company that made Duchess Satine's ship. At the end of the Clone Wars, he's seen on a hologram with Darth Maul telling him to go into hiding. He is Maul's right-hand man, so there must have been some level of trust there that he only would have gotten from someone that's either like a high-ranking Mandalorian or someone in Death Watch. Put that all together, that dude is a fucking Mandalorian.
I love your passion.
But I could be wrong. That's
your
the
passion.
thing.
We may never find out either because we may never see Dryden Voss again.
We probably won't, and that's a
That's
damn
okay.
shame because I love Paul Bettany.
Me too. I actually do, and I love your theory. I think it's a great theory. So I mean, but again, it is what it is. But if it was, here's the thing: if it was revealed later on that he wasn't, would you be mad?
No, because I still love the character.
Right, absolutely. So fair enough, exactly. And that's the important thing about speculation.
And a lot of people try to like come at me with it and be like, yeah, but the lines on his face when he got mad, like that doesn't happen with Mandalorians. I'm like, did you not think maybe he was a foundling?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely could be.
I got an answer for everything with this theory. So anyone thinking they can come at me with this, don't.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, we got two more pieces of news or 3 pieces of news. One, this is the time where Maddie, I'm going to ask you to close your ears for a couple minutes. I just wanted to.
Oh, is this the?
Yes.
Yeah.
Balin Skull's a little bit of backstory here for Balin Skull. I'll give you when I'm done. So very little has been revealed about Balin Skull, but the latest issue of Empire Magazine, it has been confirmed that he is indeed a former Jedi Knight who survived the events of Order 66 and became a mercenary for hire, which is why he's doing the bidding of Grand Admiral Thrawn. Now, I want to put it out there that I like this backstory. I think it's fine. I know there's a section of fandom that seems to be very upset about this, only because they kind of are tired of Jedis who survived Order 66. And I got to put my voice out there that I think people are getting too prickly about that because, quite frankly, 2 reasons. A, George Lucas has been quoted as saying that probably at least, I believe it was 50 to 100 Jedi probably survived Order 66. If you take out how many Jedi there were in existence, and if you said that 99% of them were killed, you're still have at least 50 to 100 Jedi still alive. We've only had a handful still. So the fact that every Jedi or all these Jedis have survived is an issue now. To me, that makes no sense. To me, you can have a ton of stories about Jedi. Where were they during the original trilogy? I know Yoda says you're the last Jedi. It was more about the Jedi Order that was decimated. Yoda was saying that he was the last Jedi as far as the Order goes, potentially, because Yoda's giving him Jedi status in the Order. A lot of Jedi probably left the Order to go find their ways across the world. In this case, becoming a mercenary, which is an interesting tactic. It's interesting seeing a Jedi go from this. It's not about how many, it's about what they did during the time. If you have an interesting story to tell about a Jedi who survived Order 66, then I think you should be able to tell it. And I think it can be interesting. I think there could be numerous stories you could tell. Somebody who helps out the path, like maybe Quinlan Voss did, potentially. Someone like Balin Skull now, who's a mercenary out for hire. All this is potentially great stuff. So I really think we have to pump the brakes on being upset, possibly, that more Jedi have survived Order 66 because we're not going to be done yet. There's going to be more. We've only had a handful so far. We've only had a handful of Jedi survived. I mean, let's we got Luke. I mean, Luke didn't survive, obviously. We have Ahsoka who survived. We had Ezra who survived. They got off the chessboard. They got those pieces off the board, though. Now we have Balin Skull. We have a few. I mean, there's only a handful of ones that we've talked about. Quinlan Voss. It's okay. It is okay. We're going to be okay. I think take a deep breath and listen to each story. You're probably going to like some. You might not like others, and that's okay too. But don't turn your mind off to that. Let the story come to you and see what it says to you. That's all I'm asking. Okay. All right. Let's bring Maddie back since he's okay now. All right, Maddie's back. Maddie can be back.
Are you done?
I am done.
Are you finished? Are you finished? Are you done?
I am finished with this aspect of it. I had to get my thoughts out there on it. And
yeah, I don't want to know. If anyone tweets at me with Balin's story, I reserve my right to kick you in the leg.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I don't want to know nothing. I don't want to know a thing.
Okay, last bit of pieces I will say. I'm going to talk about. I'm going to skip the one. Yeah, so okay, a couple more. Jared Dawson had a few more pieces of words about where Ahsoka is, about the character's trauma and how it's shaped into who she is now. And actually absolutely mentioned her trying to put out into the universe that she wants a season 2. Because we know that it's been already put out there that if season 1 performs, it is going to get a season 2. I kind of hope so too.
Of course she does. She's a student of Kevin Smith.
Absolutely.
She's gonna if there's one thing she learned from Kevin Smith, it's let's draw this thing out as long as we can.
Let's make it rewarding. Absolutely. Let's reward ourselves as many times as we can. But yeah, she seems to really understand the character. I'll give you, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and give you the one quote. I love how confident she is. She's not fearless, but she never hesitates. She's so willing, but she does have worries. She does have stress, and she's gone through a lot of anxiety. She had some really tough crises and traumas in her life. I really dig how complex she is, even in her moments of just finding her way and butting heads and being stubborn and being wrong, having to deal with the pain of what that is when soldiers are dying under her command. I like how she really seems to be digging down deep into the heart of Ahsoka. Obviously, the big Clone Wars arc when she has, obviously multiple Clone Wars arc when she discovered that there was more going on that she knew about, as far as like being under command, losing the soldiers under command. Like she mentioned, she learned that she couldn't be just so impulsive about things. She had to see bigger pictures. It really feels like she knows who she is, and knows who Ahsoka is. I like that, and hopefully that's going to come across as far as where she is now. She's not the same young snips that she was back in the Clone Wars. She's a much older, more mature Ahsoka. So to see that balance of, I don't want her to have lost her her vibe, if you will.
Je ne sais quoi.
Exactly, but it is a more mature je ne sais quoi at this point. That makes sense.
I mean, people gotta remember, Ahsoka was take everything away, take the Jedi, the Force, everything, and with the Anakin, take that away. She was a child soldier.
Yeah.
At the root of her character in the Clone Wars, she was a child soldier. That comes with a lot of heavy baggage.
Absolutely. I think Rosario is probably the one to be able to pull it off. I'm very happy to see her in the role. I do like that she is in the role.
Hey, we've both seen Clerks 3. She can pull off trauma and baggage.
Oh God, don't get me started on Clerks 3. Don't get me started on Clerks 3. All right, the last piece of news I do want to talk about is not part of the Empire Magazine articles. And you got to take this with a grain of salt. A lot of it. Katie Sackhoff did attend the Fan Expo in Philadelphia 2023 over the weekend, and there were interesting things that were mentioned. Specifically, there's a couple of things. One that's not really important, talking about talking about Bo-Katan and Din perhaps shared a kiss that was cut or something to that effect. That seemed very kind of up in the air whether that was actually happening or not. So I don't want to get into that aspect of it. I'll put it out there that it was said. But the important thing to know is that Katie Sackhoff was on the set of Ahsoka. She would not confirm whether she was reprising her role as Bo-Katan in the show. She kind of just stayed quiet about it. Specifically, they also mentioned, I said earlier this year, there are rumors about a new show being developed in the New Republic era, codenamed Ghost Track 17. We talked about that in the previous episode. Ghost Track 17 was one of those titles. We kind of speculated that it probably was Skeleton Crew at the time, potentially. Maybe not. Several theories were pitched, and one of them was being that it would be a Bo-Katan-centric show. And when asked directly if we could be getting a Bo-Katan spinoff or even a movie at some point, Katie Sackhoff apparently denied to respond. The quote from the fan, this was a tweet from a fan in attendance, so we could take this with, complete, that's why I said take that salt, take a lot of salt with it. But when asked if Bo-Katan will ever get a spin-off series or a movie, Katie Sackhoff literally refused to answer it and just smiled. Katie Sackhoff knows better than to say anything anyway. I think sometimes a lot of these fans, like, even if there's nothing happening, she doesn't want to put anything out there in the world either way. Something might be happening later on. She won't be called out to cover for that either. But she wants it to happen. So maybe she's going to use that to kind of get some news going. Who knows? There's a lot of different reasons why. But she didn't deny it, supposedly. And she smiled. I would love to see a Bo-Katan show or something, a movie or something like that. I think there's a lot to discover with this character still. And I think Mandalorian Season 4 is going to go a different way. So maybe this is what we can do. We have Mandalorian Season 4 going one way. Give us some more Bo-Katan as a nice way to talk about that side of things going on. What do you think about that?
I can't wait for the meme where they put Bo-Katan on Anakin's head and just like, I will bring justice and order to my new spinoff. And it's Obi-Wan saying, spinoff? The entire of Mandalorian Season 3 was your spinoff. It's coming. Yeah. I get it. If it was me and someone asked me about it, I'd just have a reflex kick and be like, I plead the fifth.
Yeah.
I plead the fifth.
I think that's what they do nowadays. I think to avoid the snipers, just like, I'm not going to answer anything. I don't want to answer anything about the future. That's my trigger. That's my Pavlovian response. What about the future? I have no idea. I don't know. My pay grade. Okay, so one final piece. I know this is another final piece of news, but from that same article, from the same convention, Hayden Christensen was also there and was asked about a what if, and would he ever want to do a Star Wars what if, and what would he like to see Star Wars explore as a what if? And his answer was that he would love to see, quote, what if Anakin never turned? And Anakin and Padme raised Luke and Leia together with Uncle Obi-Wan coming to visit. All right, I love it. Hey, Hayden, give it to me. Let's see what I honestly would love to see a Star Wars What If anyway. And to give me an episode like that, we gotta go see how it turned out at the end, right? What the hell? Why not?
What the hell? I mean, I'm one of the few where I'm like, no, leave it alone. Not, it's not the world between. That's not how the world between worlds works. Don't. That's not how the That's not how the Force works. Hey, if it happened, cool. Good for Luke and Leia. They actually had, probably the only one, some of the very few children of our generation where their parents didn't abandon them. So, hey, good for you, kids.
Now the specifics is fine, but in general, I would like to use that as a platform to say I would love to see a Star Wars What If series. I think there's a lot of potential you could mine there. Even if it's just if it's animated or if it's like I'd like to see it happen.
Yeah.
But that's something around the world.
I just think it's like you're walking very thin ice.
All right. That's gonna end our news segment of the day, and now we're gonna get into our pitches and our little meat of the episode, so to speak. This is something I pitched, like I said at the beginning of this episode. I pitched Maddie. You are now Kathleen Kennedy. You get to pitch 5 directors these movies.
I want that job. I don't want to be Kathleen Kennedy.
That's true. I don't want to be her either. She gets way too much flack, and I wouldn't want to deal with that, to be honest with you. But
I'll take a paycheck, but
there you go. Well, how about this? You're working under Kathleen Kennedy, and it's your job to find directors, and you have found 5 directors to film Star Wars movies. Who are they? And what do you want them to? What kind of era? What do you want to? What do you want them to record?
My first one is a complete basic bitch answer, and Kathleen may not be happy with me doing this behind her back. Joseph Kosinski for Rogue Squadron.
Oh, that's
Patty Jenkins is great. I get why they got her. She has a history with the Air Force. Mm-hmm. Nah, bro, give me Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun Maverick. In the Star Wars universe as Rogue Squadron, as filmed by Joseph Kosinski and Ed Harris is a small part in it then, right?
Yes. No, okay. Ed Harris will be an older Wedge Antilles.
Wow. I mean, I don't like to recast.
No, Wedge. Biggs. An older Biggs.
An older Biggs. Wait, Biggs is dead. How can he do it?
Oh no, it is Wedge, isn't it? No, yeah. I was right first time. Yeah,
we could have Ed Harris. We could have Ed Harris be maybe Tycho Kelchu from the old Rogue Squadron books. There you go. There you go.
And I will shout out to Alex Damon. He will be cast as Gavin Darkleyer.
Perfect. I love it. That's a great pick. I mean, you're not wrong. I have at least one basic pick in mind as well, but I think it's a fine pick. I think it's a good, cool thing. I did try to swing for the fence a little bit. I kind of went through a bunch. I was like, I kind of would like to see Steven Spielberg do it, but Steven said he'd never do it, and it's kind of a basic answer, so I kind of pushed that one away. My first one I decided to go with, I had like a list of 10 or 15 I was thinking about. First one I'm going to go with, Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, he was one I was thinking. My
idea was, I think it's going to be maybe the Old Republic era. And my idea, you have an exploratory team of Jedi and maybe Republic explorers. They crash onto an uncharted world in wild space. And this world is chock full of Guillermo del Toro fantastical creatures who have their own connection with the Force, which is different than anything we've known before. And after they crash down, they are exploring the world. They come upon a crashed spacecraft, and it happens to be their own spacecraft. It's almost like they've been there before. I don't know. That's a small pitch. I don't know. A little mystery box added. Mostly, give me Guillermo del Toro, fantastical creatures using the Force, and a couple of Jedi thrown in there. I'm sold. I am sold. All right, what's your second choice there?
If we're leaning into the martial arts aspect with the Acolyte, give me a Gareth Evans.
Oh my!
Maybe we can adapt Darth Maul Shadowhunter.
Oh my!
Where he's going through Coruscant, hunting down the holocron.
Lord Bavon. Mm-hmm. Ooh, Gareth Evans Star Wars with Darth Maul and martial. Wow, that'd be phenomenal. That would be
like, I'm there every day. Like, just Take all my money. I'm executive producing the film apparently, but just I'll still pay. Every cent that I make on the movie will be spent on a ticket
Watching
to
the
go see
movie.
it.
You know, as an executive producer, you could probably just watch it on your own anytime you want to. They probably give you the
No,
copy.
no. I'm making sure that that money goes back into the movie to make the sequel.
Oh, okay. Very fair. Very fair. I like that. I like that. Okay. My next choice is I'm going to hire Catherine Bigelow. And the reason why is I'm going to pitch a story about Mayday and his crew in Clone Wars.
Yes.
And my proposed backstory is that Mayday and his brothers were one of the crew who worked under General Pong Krell.
No.
Before Umbara. Before Umbara. So he was one of the crew that was in when they lost a lot of men in the first place. And a story about that to where we get to them as they're banished to this outpost world underneath the Empire. Black Hawk Down, kind of like really serious military vibes.
We have to have Ponkrell though. All my homies hate Ponkrell.
I know, of course they do, but that's what makes him such a great character. You can see him before he turns. I love the idea. I love the idea. So give me a little bit of Catherine Bigelow goodness with Mayday as the lead. I love it.
I like it. I like that. The little bit of Black Hawk Down. Yeah, I like that a lot.
All right, what's your next pitch?
I'm bringing in the talents of Mr. Guy Ritchie.
Oh, pitch me on this for sure.
It will be starring Antonio Banderas as Hondo Anaka. A lock, stock, and two smoking barrel style movie where it's a heist. It all goes wrong. It all goes to shit at the end. And it's Hondo planning a heist on the casino on Canto Bight. Directed by Guy Ritchie.
Hashtag Hondo watch, and you know what? You're absolutely correct. It's actually, it might be better than my version. Of course, I have a Hondo movie as well. Of course, I do. That's actually my next pitch. But I want to see the Guy Ritchie version because I didn't even think about that, and that works so perfectly. Oh my god! Yes.
I thought about Soderbergh doing it, but then I was like, no, you need the comedy aspect of it, like all going wrong, and then the twist of it at the end, like everything works out and it all comes together, even though everything went wrong. And the only one I think that could pull that off would be Guy Ritchie. Obviously, Jason Statham has to be in it.
Somewhere, yeah, absolutely. Maybe he's Hondo's old mentor or something to that effect. I don't know. Maybe he's Hondo's father.
Maybe, or you just have like someone speaking who's like, what species speak really fast, like Jawas. And he's just there, just like, I don't understand them, mate. What you say? And it would be like Brad Pitt as the Irish Pikey.
I love it. That's perfect. Well, we'll go from that Hondo tale to my Hondo tale. Also, the pitch was I had this idea of having Hondo, older Hondo, involved in something small heist over, but he's telling his story to somebody. He's telling about the coming of age Hondo, the young Hondo. So it's old Hondo and young Hondo in the ones. And who I'm having directed, I don't care if it's live action or animated. I'm gonna go with Lord Miller.
Oh, okay.
Lord Miller. A little bit of a different tale. Like, definitely more the young. They have the humor for sure. It's a very unique sense of humor, and I think you could make Hondo work under that sense of humor very, very well. Especially if you get the coming of age Hondo, how Hondo became Hondo, the Hondo we know and love.
Can I associate producer this movie real quick?
Sure.
One thing I loved about Across the Spider-Verse was how each universe had a different color scheme.
Right, absolutely.
Like Gwen's world had like the watercolor work and everything. Yep. What if every story Hondo told was like a different style of animation?
I'm on board with that. I'm all on board with that. Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. Let's do it. Oh, that's perfect. I love that we both had Hondo movies, and I want to see both of our Hondo movies now.
It's Holy Snokes. He's in the graphic. We have to have Hondo. It's in the contract of the show.
It is. It is. We are definitely here for the Honda movie. So we have 2 Honda movies, and I'm all for them. All right, good. What is your next pitch, then, my friend?
Oh, I've actually just come up with a very good one. It's just like popped my because I had 4 and I was struggling to come up with the 5th.
Okay.
I'm gonna say what was my 4th for 5 because it's like my dream one.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna bring in Amy heckling.
Ooh, okay.
I want Clueless set in the Jedi Temple. Everyone, like, you only have to know me for like 10 minutes to know my favorite types of movies. Late 90s, early 2000s teen comedies. Think John Hughes,
Right.
Actually, John Hughes doing a like a teen comedy at the Jedi Temple would be hilarious. But you bring in a little bit, we tie it in teen comedy, bit of She's All That.
Yep.
Freddie Prinze Jr.,
He's already there in the Star Wars universe.
a young Kanan.
I'm here. I'm on
Perhaps
board.
young Kanan was a bit of a bit
Absolutely.
of a playboy in his younger years.
Absolutely. You do a lot of this stuff. It's funny, we actually never, I mean, obviously, we never got a chance to really dive deep into this part of the universe here. So it's actually very ripe for storytelling. A few book series, they had a few like the young Obi-Wan books that they had delve with Obi-Wan and his friends in the temple, so to speak. And Anakin had that sequel series as well, the Anakin in the temple as well. But I agree. We could we actually get a big movie series, maybe even a Disney Plus series, where you actually get to see the whole temple, different people involved, and everything else. You can get a young Obi-Wan. You can get a young. You can have an old Yoda in there at some point, just still popping around.
Did the Padawans have a prom? What does a Jedi prom look like?
That's true. That's a great idea. That's a
How
great
do
question.
you ask someone to a Jedi prom without like showing attachment?
I'm on board. I'm on
These
board.
are
Well
the
done.
kind of things that I want to see.
Well done, my friend. Well done. The things that keep us up at night.
And of course, with every great teen comedy, we need a pop punk soundtrack. You bring back Starwaver. Bring in live action Starwaver from Star Wars Visions to do this to be the Blink 182 from American Pie in this movie.
If I could stand up and give you an ovation, I would. It's something I want.
I just
Something
came
I
up with
need.
that off the dome. That was just like me, like, okay, I want a teen comedy in Star Wars. Who would do it? Amy Heckling could bring it. Like,
Lucasfilm, are you hearing this? Hire this guy on the spot. Get him on your payroll. Make this happen. All right, my 4th choice, someone who is near and dear to my heart. I'm going to go with a certain Mike Flanagan.
oh, I had a feel. I was like, he's either going Flanagan or One at one point.
I was absolutely going to do that. I couldn't do both. I had a couple of different horror people in mind. I was thinking of. I was going to go. I had Flanagan in mind. I had Juan in mind. I even had Jordan Peele in mind at one point as well, potentially.
Ooh,
All three would be great. I have a certain affinity for Mike Flanagan's storytelling, and the story I want to tell is very much up his alley. It's basically almost a haunted house story in Star Wars, and what I mean is going to be a High Republic story. A Jedi and a Padawan traveling to a remote planet after a call for help. They get to this planet, they can sense the vibes. There's some kind of old dark side vibes. They meet with some guides, some people, some natives to the planet who guide them to an old abandoned Sith temple, which is corrupting the world. They go inside and they get trapped inside the Sith temple and have to survive while living inside the Sith temple. I'm not sure for how long. Kind of inspired a little bit by Exar Kun in a way. There's some spirits of the Sith that are trying to escape this temple. The Jedi, they discovered that the old Jedi at one point had trapped these Sith spirits in this temple. So it's a hard house story in the High Republic. Who better than Mike Flanagan? I'm here for that.
House in the High Republic. Yeah, I like that a lot. I like that a lot.
Sweet. All right, Matt, we've come to it. Your dream pitch. Give me your dream pitch.
I was just quickly Googling to see how this would work. Because this is this is one that a lot of people won't know. Some people might. A lot of people call him the first video game auteur.
Okay.
This is a man who has worked with A-list actors like he has worked with Mads Mikkelsen, he has worked with Norman Reedus, he has worked with Lea Seydoux, he has worked with Keith Sutherland on his video games. A man from Japan by the name of Hideo Kojima.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The creator of the Metal Gear Solid franchise,
We know how
and
much you love Metal Gear.
the creator of Death Stranding. And why do I pick him? Because he is a man who understands deeper themes and hidden themes and themes that like you really have to think about to pick up on. A lot of people when they saw Death Stranding, the game, were like, "Oh, it's just Norman Reedus playing a Amazon delivery man that he dodges these black demon things."
Right.
No, it's about the game is about making connections with people. It's about dealing with death. It's about dealing with loneliness. But on the outside, you would think of it, oh, you're just running packages to and from over some mountain ranges and across a field, and you have to dodge some demon-like things. No, there's like he is a master of like the deeper messaging and the deeper themes that like you really have to wrap your brain around to be like, oh, that's what he means. Add to that, he is, if you look on his Instagram, the man doesn't post pictures of himself. He posts pictures of the DVDs that he's watching that day, the vinyl, the music vinyl that he's just bought.
Right.
Like
Right.
what
Absolutely.
I know at Kojima Productions, one of their days on the Friday, that's what they call movie day, where they pull all the staff into a room and they watch a movie because he's just like, so I think I was reading his podcast and I think he said by the time he was 18 he'd read like 300 books.
Wow. Good for him.
Like he's just like engulfs movies, literature, music. He's just like a hive mind and the embodiment of essentially entertainment and storytelling. Add to that, like he loves Star Wars. He loves westerns. He loves Kurosawa. Obviously, by being from Japan, obviously Kurosawa is a big influence on him.
Right.
That's the three main things that you need.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's an interesting pick. I never would have thought of him. I never would have done that.
He is my dream pick, and I've talked about it with a couple people, and they've been like, "Oh, it wouldn't work. He's a video game director." But look at the people who are in his video games. Not then these are people that aren't just like Mads Mikkelsen isn't just doing voiceover acting. Norman Reedus and Lea Seydoux, they're not just doing video like voiceover acting. They are in the games as themselves in mocap suits acting out, and he's on set directing them.
Not wrong. You're not wrong at all. I mean, like, plus sometimes it's good to go outside the box and you get sometimes you get your best ideas from someone who's a little bit outside. He has a fan. He can understand the world and to take it from his perspective, which is a different perspective than we've seen. That leads to new and exciting ideas. I'm on board. I love it. I think it's a good idea. It's a cool idea. I'm all on board. Let's do it.
And as for the what movie he could do, hey man, I'm not gonna let him. I'm not gonna tell a master storyteller what to do. I'm just gonna be like, how much do you need? Okay. Hi, Mr. Kojima-san. I'm from Lucasfilm. We would like you to write and direct this next movie. You can do whatever the hell you want. You can have whoever the hell you want in it. How much is it going to cost? Cool. Done. We'll see you in LA. That's the conversation.
You're not wrong. That's great. I love it. Hey, I'll let you get away with that because I love how you put it. So, because you know what, fair enough. Honestly speaking, if you have some of these filmmakers, that's exactly what happened for me as well. You know, I just like, I know you, I love you. Let's just go ahead.
Add to that, most of the cutscenes in the like, especially in Metal Gear Solid 4, some of those cutscenes are like an hour long.
Damn, man.
So he knows how to make like feature length movies in cutscenes.
Damn. Wow. Wow. All right. That's your dream pitch. I'm going to go with my dream pitch. I will say that I do have a pitch for the movie as well. Although, quite frankly, if it came down to it, I don't care what this guy does. I would just give him the bank and say, "Do what you do," as well. I'm going to go with my. It's probably not a surprise if anybody's watched PLD projects. My favorite current living director, one Mr. Denis Villeneuve. is going to get the keys to the kingdom as far as I'm concerned. Visually alone, it would be just a beautiful Star Wars piece. I'm envisioning it to be something akin to Blade Runner 2049 visually and thematically. I had this whole idea in mind, potentially. Now, Denis, you can use this or not, but I think it'd be right up your alley. To me, this would be a connected to the main storyline kind of film, even though we're doing the trilogy, doing the Skywalker saga, yeah, whatever. I consider this a legacy of the Force type story. In terms of the comic book run, I don't know if are you familiar with the comic book run of Legacy of the Force? Okay, Legacy of the Force was a comic book run that was set far future with Cade Skywalker as the lead. It was a descendant of.
Oh wait, yes. I am familiar with it now. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm taking this far in the future at this point with this one. And what we discover is a descendant, the lead character is a descendant of Obi-Wan Kenobi's brother, who was mentioned. He was in Obi-Wan, Obi-2, yes, Obi-2 Kenobi. Mentioned in Obi-Wan, he mentioned that he had a brother, so that's technically as canon. So perhaps we don't know. Maybe his brother had kids and everything else down the line. So he's in the Kenobi lineage, to speak. The Jedi are around at this time, but they're not Jedi order that is strong. It's I don't say fledgling order, but it's not like it never hit the heights of the High Republic era anymore, or even the prequel era. But he's not involved in the Jedi Order. He is left like kind of Qui-Gon style, believes more in spirituality than the organized religion aspect. He's a kind of a wandering Jedi. He also feels he has the weight of his legendary ancestor on his shoulders a little bit. He makes his way around the galaxy and happens to run into Mortis during his travels. He's brought to Mortis, and on Mortis, when we left Mortis, they were all gone. It was its own world again. And he finds a Dark Lord there. The dark side is rising in Mortis. And he is a captive woman. He is captured from parts unknown. Ends up being some kind of big tale where Kenobi the Younger, I didn't have a name for him, ends up having to fight the Dark Lord. And in this battle, Kenobi sacrifices himself, but also kills the Dark Lord at the same time, leaving this young woman, or this woman on her own. And the end of the film, she makes her way to the temple after burying the Kenobi. We never hear anything about it. She never speaks the whole movie. She goes through a portal of some kind, maybe a world upon worlds. She makes her way. She also, next time you see her, she's on a ship somewhere. And a captain of the ship is surprised. Like, where did she come from? What's going on? I don't get this. Who are you? And she asks her name. Shmi Skywalker. It's the future. Comes back to the past. And that's a Kenobi descendant who saves Shmi Skywalker to bring her back in time. And
that's a mind fuck of a review.
And she's pregnant already. We don't know. So it could be, we don't even know at this point. She's pregnant from being on Mortis, child of the Force. Shmi Skywalker. Kind of a little bit of a rival-esque in a way, kind of like the future of the past. Kind of think it's even alluded so well, right?
Now that it's starting to like sink in and like get my head around it, I'm like, yeah, that could work. Because for a second, I was like, is this motherfucker about to do Logan in Star Wars? Like with the woman who doesn't speak throughout the whole movie, and then at the end, like we get the reveal of like she finally says one thing. Yeah, no, that's really cool, dude. Especially with Denis doing that, I think that's like quite up his alley because the visuals would be great. Like, I would love to see Mortis through Denis' eye. That would look really cool.
Yes.
Does Timothée Chalamet play the young Kenobi?
Potentially, he could. I could see that working.
Because I feel like there may be a little bit of a conflict of interest. But hey, you have the checkbook.
You know what? It's Blade Runner 2049. Maybe I can make Gosling do it.
That would be. Yeah.
A lot of potentials. A lot of potentials there.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Nah, I like it. Gosling in Star Wars. Let's make it. I'm surprised
make it happen.
Floated that out there.
Perfect. All right, then that's where we're going to end, of course, today. I love this exercise. This is a great idea.
Yeah, this is good.
Potentially, I got to throw some other ones in there next time. Maybe we'll have a sequel to this because I kind of like that idea. But yeah, so Matty, where can the folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Matty Gunner, Instagram Matty_Gunner. You can find my band Mourner, Mourner, on all DSPs. You can find me here every Wednesday for Holy Snokes on PLD Projects. And you can find me every Saturday now on PLD Projects for MI Declassified with, if you swap the seats around, this guy right here. The Benji to my Ethan. The Billy to my Ethan.
Oh, well, that's not good. Let's stick with the first one.
Everyone knows you're my Luther. It's fine.
That's right. That's probably actually I'm probably closest to Lutheran, except for I'm a very, very white Lutheran. But that's fair.
You are a white Luther.
All right, you can find me again all over PLD Projects at Paul_Denuzio on Twitter. Of course, we do every kind of show here. Again, Holy Snokes every week. Like Matty just said, new MI Declassifieds are going to come out every Saturday, leading up to Dead Reckoning Part 1. I have 2 Media for White Dudes on film. PG and I working on Indiana Jones right now. Next Tuesday, we will have our episode on Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which I can't wait to rewatch. That's one of my favorites of all time. You can find me doing Crown Jewels, Harriston's Review. An episode of Review comes out tomorrow on the Thursday with myself and Lego going V, The Final Battle, Part 1. And we're going to break that down for the next couple of weeks. We'll be doing that before we jump into the weekly series. We used to do Class Action, but if you saw the update on the channel, our friend and brother Richard Eric Jarvie is taking a sabbatical for now, and we didn't want to do the show without him. So it's Class Action. Slacker. Slacker. That's right. No,
I'm kidding. I love you, brother.
We love you, brother. We're just going to go on what I'm going to call an indefinite hiatus. When Jarvie is ready to come back, then we will revisit and probably start Class Action up again at that point, or maybe even retool it. Who knows? Maybe we'll use the time to retool it. Who knows? But that's great. If you like this video, if you're here for the whole thing, that like, that subscribe, click all the buttons, all those buttons, smash them, smash all of them. If you're listening to the audio feed, leave us a review. That'd be great. Like a 5-star review can only help us. And if you want to support the channel even further, patreon.com/PLD Projects. Got a bunch of great people on board. I want to shout out specifically Austin Goodell, Matty Kearns, Bernie Buckingham, Jeff Alterman, Kelly W. Couldn't do it all without you, and the rest of the patrons as well. We much appreciate you guys. And speaking of Matthew Kearns, Matty Kearns at that executive producer level, he's going to be joining us on Mission Impossible Declassified.
Yes,
not this one, not the second one, which is coming out on Saturday, but the next one, Mission Impossible 3, which happens to be, spoiler alert, all 3 of ours favorite entry into the franchise. So that should be a lot of fun to discuss. I think that's it. I think that we're good. I mean, I don't know what we're doing next week on Holy Snokes. Obviously, some news. We'll come up with a great story, a great second half as well. And we'll have to keep doing that until August 23rd when we start to review Ahsoka Season 1, Episode 1. But that's then. That's not now. This is here and now. Until then.
That's not then. That's not now.
It's here. It's now. It's a world between worlds. We're getting there. But now we're not there.
It's that. It's every fucking way.
PLD Projects.
May the force be with you always.